Okay. Um, some girls reporting on the Urban Myth channel. Okay. All right. So, where do I go with this one? Let's do this. I'm going somewhere with this. I know I always say that. So, I was watching this woman do a video. I may have to go back and she filled in for Alex Jones. I think it was, or she did the fourth hour, or the third hour, or whatever, a few days back. Now, I have been listening to Alex because he said since like Schroyer left, and in the last like say month or so, he's been doing some good stuff. Um, Now I've this Leonarda Joni. I don't know where she's from or whatever. I don't. I think she might have been immigrated here. I don't know. I think a lot of her stuff is hilarious, but she is like. On the other hand, I don't know what to do with this one, and because I don't know how old she is. I should have looked up her date of birth. I think I might have. Her opinion on boomers is so bizarre. She thinks that oh my god. Now I have told these stories so many times. Where I grew up, it was very a large block in Milwaukee. On the northwest side. It was probably built in the late 50s, I'm assuming. My mom and dad bought the house either from a builder or someone else. I can't remember. I think it was right before I was born, or maybe a year before I was born. And okay, so or months. I don't know. I don't have anyone to ask about it anymore. My dad never wanted to live there, and my mom did. So it's a long story. But anyway, so we grew up there, and or that's where. Okay, my teen and childhood years and all that shit. Okay, were spent, and I was probably one of the youngest kids. Okay, I was considered a boomer. So was my sister. Very much late in the you know, from 47 to 64, right at the end there. And her opinion of boomers thinking that we are all about the Holocaust and protecting Jews and all this crap. I don't ever remember the word Holocaust coming up in. Am I even allowed to say that on YouTube? I don't ever remember that coming up in any of my schooling, because I went from public to Catholic school and then to public school. Okay, so but during those times, I mean, I got out of Catholic school in 76. Okay, so was when I entered my 4 years of high school. Okay, so I don't remember it. The only thing I remember was picking up the Diary of Anne Frank in the library and reading it. And I was a little freaked out by it. And I tried to ask, my mom questions about it. And, I don't remember. I mean, it was, I don't know if you guys would believe me if I told you this. When I asked her if there were ever reports, oh my God, on HITLER, am I allowed to say this? I don't know. I'm not saying anything bad about anybody and any of this stuff. And she said, no. I said, so you didn't know any of this was going on? Now she was, a kid. She said, no. Now she was born in 1932 at the end of the year. So, October, close enough, so, it was never like a topic. However, I'd say when I'm looking back at it and I'm, talking it out with my brother and stuff, I mean, where we lived, this was a very common place for professional Jewish people to move to and live. And I mean, I'm just like thinking within like just blocks of where I lived. I mean, I was friends with a girl whose dad was a German soldier, okay, who lived next to a man who was a dentist and was Jewish. And then if you were to skip down, okay, they were just like Lutheran people. And then just, I don't know if they were religious or not, because, being Catholic was a big part of my life. And that school was a big part of my life. And, I'd say being Catholic was sort of the minority. And so we just had, people that were sort of non-religious, but we, were forced to go to church. I mean, we weren't really forced. I mean, we had to every Sunday. We did every Sunday, every holy day. My parents went, but we went with the school. We never, and my brother hung out and played with, and most of these, the Jewish people there of the Jewish religion, as what we thought, they were, except for one girl, they were all boys on my like 20 houses or whatever, from 10, 15 houses. They were doctors. There was a doctor, and his wife was a child psychologist, and they had twin sons, and all they did was fight. They locked their parents in a closet once. I mean, this type of thing. And everybody kind of laughed about it. And then they moved out, and then a podiatrist moved in. So it was like a stepping stone. And then they would move further towards east, towards Lake Michigan. I could start going over every single name with you. And it was like, there was never any talk of this in a boomer neighborhood. Never. The only thing that was going on during the time I was growing up was like, the big thing was the draft in Vietnam. And, the Kennedy assassination, which, I was alive for, but too young to remember, RFK and MLK. And that is not the same thing as a fake CIA asset with the last name of KARK. I mean, these are real people, right? Because blood doesn't go out and then go back in, does it? So anyone that has a brain is going to look at that situation. I mean, and this is where Trump lost me. I mean, this was an event to divide. But anyway, getting back to this. So this chick seems to think that every boomer was taught things about the Middle East, that every boomer is pro WAR, you know, because of the Holocaust. And I'm like, I honestly, it wasn't, I don't even think that word was used. I honestly have one of my high school history books in another location at my studio and apartment in another city. And honestly, I think that I'm going to have to go back over it. I discussed this with my older brother. He doesn't recall any of that either. This was on my block. I don't remember people talking about this. You had the two sides, the people doing it, you know, I mean, you had everybody, you know, right, living next door to each other. And she's, well, we don't know about, you know, that particular religious sector and who were given a state in 1947. And honestly, the only thing I can remember growing up is during this crap, in between all the Vietnam draft crap and all that, and guys burning their draft cards and wanting to start a riot, and then the quote race riots and all this shit. And we had quite a bit of crime back then going on, more crime then than there is now going on in that area. And as far as just petty thefts and vandalism and smashing lights, and they would go to anybody that was, you know, older, and these hippies would do some weird things just for the hell of it. They'd go and they'd smash things up, windows, lights, okay, whatever, you know, basement, whatever, you know, garage, stuff out in the alley where we kept our car. Okay, so whatever. I don't ever remember this being a topic of conversation. But she thinks that that my group, and you know, she needs to lose 10 for sure, and the boobs look fake, and she thinks she's hot. I think she does a lot of things to make herself look a certain way. Again, she thinks that Massey, you know, the people that funded his company, Sensible Technologies, and, you know, they were like, you know, all the people Massey pretends to be against right now is such bullshit. And he is, I mean, I could just, and she's buying into like this narrative, like the Rumble narrative, like the Candace, Jimmy Dore, Nick Fuentes, you know, she's, yep, you know, because she doesn't remember or has no recollection of time here in the 60s or the 50s. Like her Twitter feed, I find to be, it's almost like Mockingbird New Media. So I'm not looking at all this. I'm not even reading her stuff because I am a bit triggered by it because it um well, I want you to hear this. It's going, wow, she posts a hell of a lot. It was her gig on hmm, like Megan Kelly. This she's pretty funny. Here. Okay. I mean, I will admit some of this is funny. Well, here, this is, I think, funny. And this might be, I might have to adjust.
Decided to ally yourself with the forces. Listen, you're obviously quite intelligent, Tim, and
It's the Korean.
you have decided to ally yourself with the forces of evil, and and that's okay.
wild.
And
Are you talking about the
She's a comedian.
Jews?
everybody thinks you're wearing a beanie because you're hiding a yarmulke under there.
I am.
I know that it's because you have two horns. You don't want anybody to see.
No, they
Could be a
were-
bald spot. Could be
No,
a
it's
bald
complete and
spot.
total.
No, he's bald. Not a
Baldness.
bald
Could be a
spot.
bald spot, he said.
Not a bald spot. The guy is practically fully bald. Okay. So
Listen,
and so
you're
what it
obviously
is, just
quite
fucking shave
intelligent,
it
Tim.
off. And okay, so okay. I think this is fake. And when was this picture taken? Because he was a Ted Cruz person right up until the convention in 2017. So don't give me this crap. I wouldn't even, that's a joke. I could do an AI text message exchange myself. Like, I'm supposed to believe this? Ugh, yeah, no. That is, this, don't fall into it because the narrative that is being presented is just not true. I mean, if he didn't want to do that job anymore and he had issues, he wasn't bringing in any money. He was here 2 times during his career and he got about 40 people in Milwaukee in 2022. And then I believe he was in Madison before the 2024 election and was sitting outside on a nice day where you didn't need a jacket and it was sunny and stuff, which is unusual, where maybe like 5 people asked him questions, which is he called a debate. And he just sat there all day. And who wants to sit in a tent all day? No one had time to stop and listen. This guy, he's not that popular. He wasn't changing anybody's mind. He wasn't doing anything. You know, he was bringing in like 95 mil a year, and 91 of that were expenses and salaries. So, yeah, I mean, you know, she thinks she's hot. I think she's needs to go to Jenny Craig. I mean, I wouldn't. Crap. No, she's fat. Please. I mean, it's easy to fast. You know, it's easy to make a protein shake with organic ingredients and sit on your exercise bike for an hour. Um, all right. I mean, I don't know if any of this. She thinks Tucker Carlson is a hero. He is an asset. He is more like he went to Nicaragua in the 80s twice to help overthrow the government down there. His father was full on State Department. His mother was a Swanson. You talk about Nepo babies? He is the ultimate Nepo baby. All right. So let's go here. This is where she triggered me.
No one cares. But when white people go, hey, I'd like to meet someone who's of my same race, all of a sudden, they're Nazis, which makes you wonder, I thought.
Wow. This is another term I never heard, even though there was one who I invited to my wedding, by the way, and he came and had a good time. He was very uncomfortable at first because they didn't know anyone. They thought there might be some people, some faces they recognize. And I said, just have fun. So a few people I knew, I said, just hang out with them. They're really cool. I said, he's a former NAZ soldier. And they said, oh, that's cool. Let's talk to him. This is at a big Catholic wedding loaded with my entire family. So this is what I'm saying. I didn't think anything of it.
The problem with the Nazis was the mass genocide.
Oh, God. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Where is she getting this from? Wow. I mean, why?
Are you telling me the problem with the Nazis? Oh, Nazis. Oh.
This isn't just about dating preferences. White date is based around the idea that white people need to preserve
you to look at them. And
that guy is so unattractive and has such a bland personality. I don't see how he'd be able to get a date.
I want women to be hot again because I think if they're hot again.
I know, but if I know you think you're hot, but honey, you need to go to Jenny Craig or go on Nutrisystem, right? And look at, you can see where she has, the lip injections and she's got the false eyelashes and the hair extensions. And the boob implants. I don't know women that have boobs that big. It's just
again, and if you like making fatties uncomfortable, you should get a shirt and wear it around them. Let's go to some callers. I know there's some people waiting.
We've got
methylene blue, and I'm the nitric oxide.
Listen to this guy.
Well, you should get a shirt and wear it around them.
Listen to this.
Let's go to some callers. I know there's some people waiting. We've got.
Now, my theory is most of Alex Jones's callers are straight from Austin, straight from Texas. They say they're from other parts of the country, but I believe they're like changing their voice, blah, blah, blah. So I want you to think about this one. This one sounds straight like someone's like I'm doing a video right now, and I'm calling from New York City. I'm a former trucker.
Philip from Delaware. Can we get Philip on?
No, this does not sound like someone from Delaware, but he gives a 3-4 minute plug on Alex's products.
On the line.
Hi, good afternoon.
How did she know that was even the person on the line? I thought they just took cold calls.
Hi, Philip. I know you probably were calling in when Alex was here, but.
Well, maybe he's listening to the show and he'll hear my question.
Let's hear it.
And my.
Maybe he's listening to the show and hear my question. He's from Delaware? That is not a Delaware accent. Unless he's driving through it.
Praise of the products. I do got a plug for the products.
You got a plug for the products? Yeah, you do, because you've been instructed to do so.
CMOS, I didn't get a whole lot of reaction from that, but the methylene blue and...
Yeah, they probably are running out of CMOS.
And I'm the nitric oxide.
Nitric boost, nitric oxide. Yeah, this is some,
Boost, rather. I just got getting ready to order the iodine.
Well, but I'm ready to order the iodine.
So I'm hoping that all comes through with no problems. My question.
Hoping it comes through with no problems.
It was going to be what
so you're saying
So he's plugging for the products. One of them he didn't like. The other he's got on order, but he liked the methylene blue, which I think the sales are sluggish on that. Just saying.
Methylene blue worked for you?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they always have to plug that.
Yes,
Oh, awesome.
The iodine I've tried, the X2, very good. I take my own iodine too. I can't get through on the store. I can't remember my password, and I don't even know which email account I use. So it blocks me from going on. So
I
Okay.
liked it. And it was a toss up between the capsules and the liquid.
okay, so far he's a Delaware guy trying to decide if what's gonna work best for him. This stuff is several $100s a bottle and stuff. I mean,
I ended up getting both. The capsules really are a lot easier. Big. So anyway,
a lot of these women that have lip injections, their lips are crooked.
my thought was, if we need to get out of Iran,
All right.
Now, does this sound like some dude from Delaware? We need to get out of Iran.
I think
I think a simple thing. Come on.
truck driver thinking way to get
Simple truck driver thinking.
out of it was say, Mr. Trump, BB bombed the oil refinery.
I wish people would stop calling him BB. I think that's a term of affection. I mean, I'm so sick of this. I mean, it's like standard blah, blah, blah.
Done tore that up. Nobody's going to be able to.
Done tore to show it toward
Well,
that
this
up.
is true. Now, see, the thing is, a lot of people don't understand, when we talk about Israel.
Actually compliment you because it is so rare to find someone of the boomer who's going to actually compliment you.
Boom, down.
Classified as a boomer.
And
Philip, it's so
So-
rare. Are you what would be classified as a boomer generation?
Now, how the fuck would she know that? How in the fuck would she know that? This is where I just went nuts.
I don't know, but I'm a boomer. I boomed into this world.
I know this was. I was gonna actually compliment.
Actually, most boomers have much better grammar, much better language. We were taught better at school because we didn't have a Department of Education dictating each community. Each school is funded by each community. We didn't have all this federal stuff. It was local. And I am massively irritated by the grammar of these people. For starters, he's a Gen Xer. He's not a boomer. He doesn't even know what that is.
You because it is so rare to find someone of the boomer generation who.
What in the fuck are you talking about?
Who understands.
She is like, I wanted to like her, but she just bangs this one over and over and over again. And it could not be further from the truth.
That when the Bible is talking about Israel, they're talking about the people of God, who are those who have accepted Christ, and not some nation state that was founded in 1948. So I want to salute.
But we do know that because if you were born in the 50s, it's just all you knew was there was constant war going on there and over in other countries. And the Korean War had just ended. I mean, I want you to think about this. I think the big focus back then was communism and social change, social, racial change. No one was worried about, we were just like, oh my God, this is happening in Israel again. Wow, what is this? I can't. So
Salute you on that. Thank you.
I mean, she's crazy. I mean, I don't like her. I want to like her, and I just don't. But I'm following her for a few days just for the heck of it. All right. All right. Uh-oh. Mm. But aren't God, this is what we never discussed this at all. So when I was growing up, this was never brought up at all. So this is like Catholic answers, the true Catholic faith. This is one. But aren't the Jews still God's chosen people? No. This question is at the heart of many modern, which if you're a boomer, you were born between 47 and 64. This is modern, i.e., mid 80s, and it exploded during the early to mid 90s. Frankly, when Clinton was president, they took over entire huge plots of land, built huge churches. So many people were getting away from Catholicism and or standard Protestantism, and they were going to these churches. So because they thought they were doing the right thing. But from what I've seen, these people are just nasty. Like these pastors that do this, they're criminals. They rip people off. And that's kind of what was happening. It's like after Vatican II. And a lot of those people, they were boomers with young families. So the question is at the heart of many modern religious and political misunderstandings. Vatican II and modern Catholic figures often imply that Jews remain God's chosen people. I never even heard that. All right. Despite their rejection of Jesus Christ. But this view is utterly incompatible with sacred scripture, Catholic tradition, and the defined dogmas of pre-Vatican II church. Now, if you watch Judge Napolitano, he describes himself as a pre-Vatican II. I for sure am. I also know that my much older boomer cousins who are 10 years, at least born, a decade before me, they're very anti-war. Because they grew up in that era where they had to figure out a way to get out of serving. And the easiest way would be you'd find something wrong with you health-wise, or you did something enlisting, getting into college and something or another. I can't remember all the ways to do it, get married, there were different things at the time that would, I can't remember exactly, but you had to have certain, grades, and you had to be in that. And, it was just all very hard. And a lot of families back then did not have unlimited funds to send their kids to college because we didn't have these loans. You could get a loan, but you could not be living with your parents, or if you were living with your parents, they had to be extremely low income. So if you get that, and then you'd be able to get a loan and get into college. Like, we didn't have all this stuff. I've gone over this on, just to make sure. I'm skimming over it. But anyway, so in the Old Testament, what I'm saying is, like, my older cousins are very anti-war, very liberal, very like, across the board. They give to very liberal causes and charities. And I know this because I know this. I just know that they are. Okay. And they give lots of money to very liberal charities and things like that, you know. And so that's my family. That's a big one. And then there are the few outliers that are more that are Republican. But it never, like, people would argue about it, but it was like, okay, yeah, they would get into arguments. Like I had an uncle that was he was spinning to get his son out of going over to Vietnam. But he was also in the 60s very pro Goldwater, and he tried to get my dad to change his vote, before Kennedy got killed. He even came over to the house, started like telling my dad what, like, this is what you need to do and this is why. And, but my dad and my uncle were very good friends. Unfortunately, he passed away very young in 1994, I think, he had cancer. So he had a brain tumor or something, got really sick. Okay. Obviously, and then passed away. This question is at the heart. Okay. In the Old Testament, God did indeed choose the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the Israelites, to be his covenant people. The choice was not based on race, but on his sovereign will and to prepare the way for the Messiah. However, this covenant was conditional, requiring fidelity. God repeatedly warned the Jews that disobedience would forfeit their blessing. The prophets, including Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel, prophesied that the old covenant would be replaced with a new covenant written in the hearts of believers and not restricted to race. This new covenant was instituted by Jesus Christ, the true Messiah, and ratified in his blood. All the types and figures of the old law, the temple, sacrifices, the priesthood, found their fulfillment in him. St. Paul clearly teaches they are not all Israel who are of Israel. Okay, and there is neither Jew nor Greek, for you are all one in Jesus Christ, and if you are Christ's, then you are the seed of Abraham, and it just goes on. This means that being chosen no longer refers to bloodline, but to membership in Christ, that is, in the Catholic Church. The Jews as a people forfeited their covenantal status by rejecting the Messiah. Jesus himself said, the kingdom of God shall be taken from you and shall be given to a nation, bringing forth the fruits thereof. I don't know how much I want to make this religious, but again, she's way off. Okay. And then if you go with Israel, the Israel stuff, this goes on. You can go further down the road with this, where you ask like a follow-up question. That land over there, they, does Israel does Palestine okay. Yeah, so I'm trying to clear this up. Okay, the land over there. Okay, yeah, I'm working on that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have to word that a little bit differently, but we'll go back on that. So I don't know, like when I hear this crap about all boomers. No, that's not quite it. That's not quite it. And can I guess you're a boomer? And the guy's like, I don't know what the hell I am. It's like she's so fixated on boom, boom, boom. And this I'm really sick of. But I will tell you something, Leonarda. I don't know, what year did she get in this country? Mm, Leo Narda, is that her name? Joni come to the US. I mean, I think she came here from another country. I don't know. She like goes with all the pop culture stuff. Montenegro and raised in New York City. Okay. Specifically the Bronx. She arrived illegally at the age of 1, though this comes from a critical Substack post and may be exaggerated or unverified. Yeah, okay, so we have another questionable type. Okay, she's spewing nonsense and we don't really know her background. And she's not from here. I guess she's in her early 30s. Her birth year isn't documented. See what I'm saying? Just all the same shit all the time. Same shit with Thomas Mann. It's all these people. All right, so let's get off of that. This was during Carter. Okay?
These people have gathered to remember an extraordinary event which the world came to know as the Iranian hostage crisis.
And this, my friends, is why a lot of boomers I know are pissed off. They haven't forgotten it. And I know that to be true because I wanted my brother's opinion. So I said, are you enjoying our new war? He's like, I've been pissed off since 1979, so I don't care. Now, he is one of those people that won't care. Or that has a certain opinion for him because of stuff like this. Or he just doesn't care. He still thinks like Russia is the USSR. But he doesn't like talk about it. He doesn't obsess over it. He doesn't like have any knowledge on it. He doesn't read into it. He doesn't look into it. He is way too into himself for that. I will tell you this. His friends were older. Okay. So he was, whatever. He's older than me, my brother. Okay. So his friends were older than that. And many of them became my friends. Okay. And we're still, close or, would be, could be, or whatever. If we saw each other, it'd be copacetic. So the point I'm trying to make is the most lib union dem type of them all was driving around with a bumper sticker during this time that said NUKERIRAN. This just pissed off a lot of teenagers and early 20s people. I know this. I mean, I didn't know what to think when I saw that on the back of his car. I said, well, I guess it's the way people older than me think about this. I know it
On
doesn't make
November the
sense.
4th, 1979, hundreds of Islamic students occupied the American embassy in Tehran, taking the diplomats hostage and beginning a siege which would topple a president and compel us all to recognize a revolutionary new force.
And this, my friends, yeah, you have your Schofield Bible people out there, and quite frankly, I think they're younger than boomers. This is something that no one will forget.
Radical Islam.
هدف اصلی بچه‌ها در واقع از اشغالان جاسوسی این بود که فریاد مظلوم.
This is BBC. Let's go to another
First,
source.
son was born in the
This is
hospital.
the BBC. I mean, it's just, they skipped out an on to our greatest ally. Oh, wait, I forgot about that. Okay. I don't know if any of this makes sense with you guys, really. Yeah, here. And we were, I mean, I want you to imagine, like, if all of a sudden, yeah, this was a big deal.
Day 142 of the Iran hostage crisis. And the Shah's arrival in Egypt complicates efforts to free the hostages. We'll talk about that tonight with the top Iranian diplomat in this country and with the wife of one of the hostages. Tomorrow, it's the New York and Connecticut primaries, very likely make it or break it time for Edward Kennedy.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Good evening. This is a new broadcast in the sense that it is permanent and will continue after the Iran crisis is over. There will also be nights when Iran is not the major story, when we'll bring you briefly up to date on Iran, but we'll focus on some other story. That's not the case tonight. Again, today, Iran is the major story, and for the first time on television, we'll provide the opportunity for the wife
March 24, 80.
of an American
Now,
hostage.
there was a guy whose family was on TV all the time from Wisconsin, who was a Marine, who was being held there. And my dad right away went in there and he was just like pissed off because he was a Marine and he was from Wisconsin. So he's going to stand up for that Marine. So it just formed an attitude. This formed an attitude with a certain segment of the population.
To speak live with an Iranian official. Once again, today, it all focuses on the deposed Shah. He arrived today in what may be his last haven, Cairo. Egyptian President Sadat escorting the Shah to his quarters in Cairo's finest hospital and telling newsmen that Egypt will be the Shah's permanent home. In Rome, one of Iran's leading religious figures, the Ayatollah Khalkhali, also known as the hanging judge, told reporters that Sadat will pay for granting asylum to the Shah. Khalkhali also warned those American hostages accused of spying would be tried and possibly imprisoned. At the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, it is now Tuesday morning. Islamic religious leaders and Tehran radio have been calling for massive demonstrations to protest the flight of the Shah to Egypt. Kali also warned those American hostages accused of spying would be tried and possibly imprisoned. At the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, it is now Tuesday morning. Islamic religious leaders and Tehran radio have been calling for massive demonstrations to protest the flight of the Shah to Egypt. Those demonstrations scheduled to begin within the next hour or so. Because of the Persian New Year, we have no satellite facilities from Iran, but ABC's Bill Blakemore is standing by on an audio circuit. Bill, have those demonstrations begun yet? And does it look as though they really are going to be as massive as have been called for?
Ted, right now people are already gathering at about 10 rallying points throughout the city here to march on the embassy, where they should arrive in about an hour. It's a little early in the morning here to tell just how big the demonstration will be, but it promises to be an angry one. The radio and television have been asking people to join this march in order to show their hatred for American plots, as they put it.
Bill, U.S. officials here are saying that they don't expect the Iranians to take out any of their hostility against the hostages. That is, hostility because the Shah has left for Egypt. Do you share that hope?
So far, none of the Iranian officials, nor the militants at the embassy, nor Ayatollah Khomeini have made any announcements about their next step. It seems clear from some new anti-American films that appeared on television here last night and this march today that we're in for some renewed anti-American dramatics at least. The impression we get here is that the Iranians are still deciding how they will respond to the Shah's move to Egypt, but we should get some more hints about their thinking in about 6 hours when Foreign Minister Gupzadeh gives a news conference here.
Thank you very much, Bill Blakemore. Standing by now at the Iranian embassy here in Washington is the senior Iranian diplomat in the United States, the Chargé d'Affaires, Mr. Ali Agha. May I ask you that same question, Mr. Ali Agha? Is your country, do you think, going to take out its anger over the flight of the Shah on the American hostages?
I think the fate of the American captives will be decided by the Islamic Constituent Assembly, and so this has been assured repeatedly by President Bani Sadr. Of course, it was initiated by Ayatollah Khomeini and accepted by the students in the U.S. Embassy in Tehran.
And now, Mr. Ali Agha, the Ayatollah Khalkhali said, as you just heard earlier, that those accused of espionage among the hostages will be brought to trial and possibly sent to prison. It sounds as though we've gone back in time again.
First of all, I personally do not have any knowledge about that. I have heard just from the reports here. And however, the overall decision, again, I like to mention, it is left up to the Islamic Assembly in the sometimes in the near future.
Mr. Ali Agha will be back with you a little later in this broadcast. In a moment, we'll also have a report on the trials of one hostage family and a live conversation with Mrs. Dorothea Moorfield.
No more vinegar and water douches for me. They're such a bother. Jane, look. Look, Massengill has a vinegar and water disposable douche. It's convenient. Vinegar and water? The ingredients many doctors recommend. But this is pre-mixed, pre-measured, sanitary.
Well, at least they're not jumping around 200 pounds overweight with really unattractive. All right. Okay.
Hawaii, Florida, anywhere United flies in the U.S.
Wow!
And you can find out right now if you've won.
Wow!
Play United's takeoff game on every flight in April.
Fly the friendly sky.
Wow!
Your travel agent.
Steve McQueen is Tom Horn, a common man, a quiet man, an honorable man.
All right.
Man of the West.
Moorfield family in San Diego has been trapped by frustration and uncertainty. Here's Ken Kashiwahara.
Every morning after she gets her two boys off to school, Dottie Moorfield writes to her husband Richard, the consul general at the American Embassy in Iran, and now a hostage. She doesn't know if the letter will even get there. The last letter she received from him was in February. He said that he was fine, but not much else.
They sound very much like him, but then I get mad. I mean, you know, I get very angry at the fact that he's being held, and in one of them where he says we're allowed to write every three days, I just, you know, you react your anger at the people holding him.
At school, 15-year-old...
Did you hear that? This is still a beef with a lot of people that are in their late 60s, early 70s.
You know, I get very angry at the fact that he's being held, and in one of them where he says we're allowed to write every three days, I just, you know, you react your anger at the people holding him.
Mm-hmm.
At school, 15-year-old Stephen Moorfield says he thinks about his father all the time. Sometimes, he says, he simply can't get through the school day and has to go home. His brother, Kenneth, who is 14, says the experience has been emotionally draining.
I feel frustrated at, you know, where you're trying to keep your emotions and you're trying to keep yourself from getting really excited because, you know, every time it seems it's like a roller coaster ride that, you know, you go up and you go down.
This is a 14-year-old kid.
Moorfield boys seem mature beyond their ages,
Yeah, they do.
and that worries their mother.
I think they're having to cope and having to handle more than they should have to in their early teens. And I hope that it doesn't hurt them, that it doesn't leave scars.
The Moorfields watch more television newscasts than ever before, looking, listening, always hoping. But it is when the day ends that Dottie Moorfield says hope is hardest to come by.
It's when you have to face the fears, the uncertainties, and the worries that I've managed to push aside all day. They all come back and they surface, and everything looks so bleak at night.
Yeah.
Ken Kashiwahara, ABC News, San Diego.
Hey, I also wanted to mention that mortgage rates at the end of 1979 rose to 12.9. Or no, 18. No, they were 18, I believe. Well, we can look that up in a moment.
With us now in the studios of our San Diego affiliate, KGTV, is Mrs. Moorfield. I have to ask you, you've obviously been watching television today also. What do you make of it now with the Shah having gone off to Egypt? Do you feel a personal resentment over that, or do you have any compassion for the Shah?
I think the Shah is obviously an ill man. I think the choice to go to Egypt was his to make, and he made it. I hope he finds there the peace that he's looking for.
Now, what about the hopes expressed by the American administration today that none of this will be taken out on the hostages? Clearly, you share the same hope, but what about your convictions? What about your feelings?
I am not sure. I hope it won't be. I assume they've spoken a great deal of justice and honor, and they have promised the hostages will not be harmed. I think I have to hold them to that and assume that they will keep their commitment to see that the hostages remain in good health and unharmed.
Is it your sense that the Iranians have kept those commitments that they've made until now?
I really don't know, because of course we haven't seen. People have not been allowed inside. There's really no way to tell.
Well, Mrs. Moorfield, we'll give you an opportunity to speak to an Iranian official in a moment. We'll be back with Mrs. Moorfield and with Ali Agha in just a moment.
The very first of its kind. Omni, the magazine of tomorrow, on sale today.
I know. Let's settle this over coffee, Counselor.
Good idea. Whoop.
But that's only half a cup. Don't you like my coffee?
I love the rich taste. It's the caffeine I could do without.
You happen to be drinking Brim.
Play McDonald's $1 Million Menu Mania. You could laugh all the way to the bank. I just want to play McDonald's $1 Million Menu Mania. You could laugh all the way to the bank.
Oh, man.
A lot's changed in Philadelphia since 1866. Now Breyer's made friends at...
With us now live from San Diego and Washington, again, Mrs. Dorothea Moorfield and Mr. Ali Agha at the Iranian Embassy. To both of you, let me say, obviously the press has been greatly involved in this crisis all along, and it occurred to us here that you two might have a lot to say to each other, particularly Mrs. Moorfield. Is there anything you would like to ask Mr. Aliaga?
Well, certainly my first question is, how can the government of Iran, in view of the fact that your president admits what has been done is a breach of international law, the UN has condemned your country for it, how can you continue to hold these innocent people?
Well, Mrs. Moorfield, how could you remain silent in the past 27 years when your government was involved in torturing, killing, and doing all kinds of corrupt action against our people? You see, we cannot really ask
Look at how
these
heavy she's
questions
breathing.
out of
She's
context.
pissed off.
And I am saying this not just to react to you. I am requesting to you to look at the whole picture, not just at one
Look at the whole
segment of it.
picture. You've
And I
kidnapped
think
her
enough has
husband.
been said in this respect. Of course,
Everybody
I
thought
respect
they
your
were gonna be
feelings
killed.
and the feeling of your children.
Oh,
and
okay.
I personally and humbly
What are they supposed to go around saying, oh, good, we're glad this happened to our dad. We don't know if he's going to be back, but oh, well, I guess because we hate America for the last 37 years.
sorry for, your feelings, but this is something that has a history behind it.
He is basically saying, fuck you. And I'm telling you, these people are like that. From what I know,
And I think...
with my own personal interactions here.
One thing that I should say is that, you have been perhaps watching too much TV, as you and I both are on TV. I should thank, at least for the title of this show that has been changed from...
And then he says, hey, your government sucks. Why don't you understand us? And you've been watching too much TV.
Iran crisis, America held hostage into Nightline. Even these small changes, can have effect on the subconscious of people, especially like yourself, who are,
you
concerned,
kidding?
certainly more than anybody else.
Mr. Aliaga, permit me to interrupt for a moment just to give Mrs. Moorfield another chance to get a question in. I'm sure there's more she'd like to ask you.
Sure.
Right. One thing I would, of course, like to say on the history is there is also a long history of diplomatic immunity. But to go on to my next question, why are we not being allowed to hear from the hostages? Why are we not corresponding with them? Why are there so few phone calls coming out? Why isn't there mail coming out of that embassy in Tehran?
Well, perhaps one reason is because your CIA is so sophisticated. Look at Canada, the way they got some of the people whom perhaps we didn't have anything really against them out from Iran. I think really the security measure is the main reason behind this. In fact, not I think, I believe that. Imagine in a free revolutionary society, everybody could take any action. So I think this is because of the security measure, really, nothing else.
You buy that, Mrs. Moorfield?
No, I don't. I don't see how a letter from my husband to me or a phone call from my husband to me could be a threat to your security in any way.
Well, remember, some of the letters were kept here, and this was, told here in the media that were kept in the U.S. Department of State. How do you know that they are not holding the letters from your husband?
I see that would serve them no purpose. Why then, if you think the State Department, don't you let a third party in?
You should.
A Swiss or someone, why are there not photographs being taken and sent out of all the hostages? Why do we only see a few?
You see, I do not know about that. I sincerely do not know the answer to that. But as far as the letters are concerned, Mrs. Moorfield, you know that right after John Thomas came back from Tehran with over 120 letters, over 140 letters, then all of a sudden there was a pour out of letters, and then later on we realized that these letters were kept in the State Department away from the families. And here I should say really I'm not accusing any individual, but certainly there is an interest, it appears to me, in the past 142, 43 days that there is an interest to keep these people.
It's sort of like, oops, everything she's like, he's throwing everything back at her. Yeah.
As hostage in Tehran, in this country. And you people have the right to find out more than I myself
Mr.
why
Aliaga,
this is the case.
if I may, let me interrupt for a second. Are you accusing the administration now of prolonging the Iranian crisis for political reasons? For what reasons?
Well, I am saying that if you look at the history of the past 140 some days, you see the ups and downs politically in this country. You see, internally, there is still a problem.
Like someone like this, I just don't want in my country. I don't know why I feel so strongly, but he's sitting in an embassy somewhere, like saying, well, fuck you. And that has, okay, never mind.
That if anybody shows any flag, any official shows any flag against the Shah in this country, it will be considered as a suicide. Look what happened to Kennedy. Then externally, if anybody says anything against the Shah, what are they going to do with Sadat? What are they going to tell to other puppets across the world? I mean, these are political realities in this country.
Mr. Aliaga, I'm afraid we have run out of time. I do thank you for being with us this evening, and Mrs. Dorothea Moorfield, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll be back in a moment.
The makers of the laxative most often recommended by doctors announce the great taste of oranges and the natural goodness of grain.
All right. Okay. Does this explain anything to you guys? There are still many people that are really feeling strongly about this. Okay, so I think we're going to end it. All right.